Hi, this is Yaleen from Made by Yaleen, and in this video I'm gonna give you a tutorial about how to do an enclosed, or in some people also know it as an envelope border, for your mosaic crochet pattern. We are normally left with a lot of rows or a lot of fringes ends, and an enclosed border is really a brilliant way of framing your work. So this will be hopefully a quick tutorial on how to do that. So firstly, you are going to make sure that your right hand side ends will not unravel. On your left hand side, these are secured enough because you ended with a single crochet on each row, creating a little knot. But on the right hand side though, you're having the risk of maybe unraveling of the ends here. So what we'll do is we're going to make knots using 2 rows at a time to create a secure end. So you'll take 2 of the ends at a time, creating a little knot, right? There, so these 2 are done. You can knot it twice, and you will carry on like that. So the next 2, there's the next 2, alright, so you will carry on making knots alongside these spots, and then I'll see you when we're done with this. Alright, so I knotted all the right hand side ends. You would see I've also included knotting the color work that I've used in this piece, yeah, in this example. Alright, so that is your first step. Okay, secondly, what you can do is to cut the fringes a bit. So now, because you're going to work a double border, this would probably be too long. So you would cut your sample, your fringes, a bit shorter. Okay, so that it's more manageable. All right, there you go. Thirdly, you're going to start with your slip stitch row. So in doing that, this might be a little bit of a difficult exercise, or not difficult, but a bit tedious. And there's a tip that I want to maybe just show you to keep your ends at bay. So what you can do is you can take tape and just keep your ends like this into place, right? The same on this side. Let me just, oops. So keep the ends basically at bay. More manageable approach. Right. So then it's easier to work and you don't have the ends all over the place. All right, so let's do a slip stitch in a total different color. You don't have to use another color that separate from the pattern you're using, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to use a different color. I'm going to work with Rose. It's an Ecofusion yarn from Nurturing Fibers here in South Africa. Right. So you'll work from the front of the work, and you're going to do single crochets all around the project you're busy with, right? It's important to note that you should not make it too tight, because the reason is this is like a foundation row. You're going to work your border both in the back of this foundation row as well as the front. So it's a very important stitch, or a very important part of this pattern, of this section of the work. All right, you're going to place in the bottom part, you're going to place single slip stitches as well as on each side of your work. So you're going to, every single crochet here at the back and at the sides, you will place a slip stitch into. All right, so let's start doing that. I'm going to start here at the top. You're going to do a slip stitch. You don't have to work over the sample. We will work it in. I'm using the same hook as that I've used on the pattern. And do not make very tight stitches. You get to the corner here. That's your corner. Now in each single crochet, right? So there's the gray. We're going to place it so you can see your pattern is running here. Here's your end stitch just next to the side of this single crochet slip stitch, right? So the border or the sides are a bit more troublesome. So there's the yellow. Next to the yellow single crochet, place your slip stitch, not too tight. The yellow, next row, next to the gray, next to the yellow, next to the gray single crochet, next to the yellow, next to the gray, next to the yellow. You can also place your single crochet within the single your slip stitch, apologies, within the end stitch. It's not going to make a big of a difference, so whichever is best suitable for you. Right, gray, yellow, you can see sometimes it's a bit more difficult, then you just have to wing it a bit. There we go, there it goes in. No tight slip stitches. Into the yellow, into the grey. Right, now we can proceed here. Oh, there's another row here. Remember, it was 2 rows of the grey when we started. Then into the grey single crochet there. It's a pesky little one. Alright, now we're going to have one stitch left. And so we want to do that last stitch there. So you're going to cut your yarn. You're going to pull your yarn through. Okay, you're going to use a darning needle. And you're going to take the stitch, take the needle under both loops of the previous stitch. Pull through. You're going to place the needle in the last stitch inside. So you're going to place it inside. And pull through. And there you have your last stitch. Alright, so when you've done that last stitch working in that stitch there, right, it's at the back, and then you need one slip stitch here for this stitch. So you just create this stitch here when you work away your yarn. Alright, so let's create the stitch first. Oh joy. Alright, and there you have your slip stitches all around at the back as well. You can see we're going to work in those purple stitches. Right, so you can see like the placement it's a it went over the knots there, so you just make sure that your knots is on the outside. All right, so now we are done with the first round of slip stitches and the foundation row, and now we're going to start with the backside border first. Right, so we're going to start at the back. Let's work with green. Alright, so we're going to use these slip stitches. We're going to use these slip stitches at the back to do the start of the first row of the back border. Alright, so you're going to, I'll just start here, place it in there, and I have also now used a smaller size hook. Right, so previously I used a 3.75, now I'm using a 3.5. Right, you can just make a knot. And then do two chains, chain 2, and then do a DC into each of these slip stitches from the back. It is sometimes a bit tedious, to get into the stitch, but once this row is done, you will be flying. Okay, so you will see this is the last stitch of this side, the last slip stitch. So we're going to do 2 double crochets into the stitch, all right, chain 2, and then the next side, there is your slip stitch. We're going to do 2 double crochets into that stitch there. Now you're going to proceed doing your double crochets into the back of these stitches up until you get to this last stitch here. For this side, you will do 2 double crochets into that stitch, chain 2 in the first stitch here, 2 double crochets all the way. Here's your last stitch, 2 double crochets, chain 2 in this side. This is a bit skew, 2 double crochets, and then you continue all the way. So I'll get you back here. All right, so we are now at the back of the first row of the backside border. So now I've done all my stitches, all my double crochets, and now I will slip stitch into the second chain of this row, right? And now you will continue the same as per the first row in the second row. So making double crochets. Alright, so we'll proceed the same. You'll place double crochet stitches, but in your corner space you will do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, and then you will continue. Right, so in the corner space, 2 double crochets, you will chain 2, 2 double crochets, and then double crochets in each stitch of the previous round. Alright, so we are done with the second row of the backside border, and as per the previous row, we're going to slip stitch into the second stitch of the chain made. And in this tutorial, I will only doing 3 rows for the borders on both sides. So let me proceed with the last backside row. So for row 3, when you get to the corners, you will place 3 double crochets in here chain 2, another 3 double crochets in the chain space, and then proceed doing double crochets in each stitch of the previous round. Right, so 3 double crochets into the corner space, chain 2, another 3, oops, 1, 2, 3, and then you proceed. Right, so there you have the back side border, and you will see this last 3 double crochets we've placed in this chain space really make such a neat corner. Alright, so now we're going to do 3 rows for the front border as well. I will deal with that piece a bit later. Right, so we're going to start now with the front side border. So it's going to be working, you're going to be working this the same way as you've done with the back side, but when you do the first row, you will work in the back loop of the slip stitches which you've created in the foundation row. So you will place your stitches in this back loop of the slip stitches. All right. What is so great about this border is that you can do each row in another color. You can be really creative with this type of border. It doesn't need to be in one color, obviously. You can have each row in a different color. Yeah, so you can be quite creative. This time around I'm not making a knot. Right, so in the back loop. So you can fasten your yarn in whichever way you are feeling comfortable, either by a knot and then chain 2, or starting like I've just done now, whichever is more suitable for you. So you're going to do the same exact way you worked for the previous, for the back. So in the back at the corner there, we did 2 double crochets in the last stitch there, so we're going to do the same exact same thing here, to do double crochets in this first stitch of the next side, and then double crochets all the way to the last stitch, do 2 DCs, chain 2, 2 DCs, and so forth. Alright, so the first border of the front side is done. I'm going to now change color to orange. Go into that second chain. Oops. Alright, so just make sure that everything is quite tight. The green is tight. Alright, so now we chain 2 again. And as per the previous row, you're going to do double crochets, just like the back side. You'll do double crochets in each stitch. When you get to the chain space, you're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. You're going to do the same thing all around. All right, and then you can do the third row. When you're done with the second row, you can proceed with the third row. In those chain spaces then of this second row, you will place 3 DCs, 2 chains, 3 DCs. So I'll get you when you're done with your third row. Alright, so now both sides are completed. Here my front border is done. Right. And the back border is done. And now you can remove these pesky tapes. I've also worked away the ends. Right, so now we can hide away this insides within this envelope border. Right, so the way you do that is we're going to join these borders, the back and the front, with a slip stitch, and you're going to work a slip stitch into each inside stitch of the front and back side border. So you'll work from the front of your work. This is my front. All right, you're going to work the slip stitch from the back loop of the front border into this stitch of the back border, so the 2 inside stitches. All right, so it's better to start like in a border where you know that, for instance, you have here the 3 double crochets you made in the previous round. So I like to start in that stitch, and then also I can reference the same type of stitch on this side. And I just see 1, 2, 3 in this stitch. Am I correct? Yes. So now we're going to do a slip stitch into each stitch around. There we go. Alright, so you will continue in this fashion, and then I'll get you in the end here again. Alright, I have to do the last slip stitch. So I've got my yarn, we need to join. Into that stitch. I made a boo-boo there with the previous stitch. I made a mistake there. Anyway, so now you can work away these yarns, these two pieces. I tried to do it inside there to put it in between the envelope stitches or the envelope border. And yeah, so basically we are done with your envelope or your closed border. Thank you so much for watching. Please give it a like and subscribe to my channel should you wish to do so. Thank you so much. Bye.